Today I'm sharing with you the creative process behind my furniture builds. If you're feeling stuck on a project or everything feels disorganized or chaotic around you, this video might help you to get back on track and finish it up. Let's get started. I typically start filming when the project is already defined, but this time I thought, why not start filming right at the beginning when thoughts are just floating in my mind, when I don't have a concrete idea of what I want to do. I just know that I want to build a media console. I want it to be multifunctional and have lots of compartments for specific objects. Creating new designs and building them can be a bit chaotic and frustrating sometimes, so maybe you'll find it interesting to join on this journey of seeing me figure out what I want to do with this media console. I've always struggled with the perfect way to organize my projects. If you've been here from the beginning, you probably noticed I used to have a less planned approach where I sketched something out in my notebook, made some measurements, got the material, and started building right away. It can work for small projects, but for complex or highly custom pieces of furniture, like the ones for the tiny apartment, it just doesn't work. When most of the planning is being kept inside my head, the building process becomes super frustrating because I can't manage my time efficiently nor predict mistakes and potential adjustments. Not that I don't make mistakes today, but having more thoughts and images put to paper or a computer screen allows me to solve more of the problems before they have a chance to exist. Now let's get started on the conceptualization process of the media console. Okay, so first thing is to actually grab a tape measure, a pen, and a piece of paper or a notebook. And this time I will also be using an angle finder because, you know, it's a tiny apartment, so we don't have 90-degree walls. Alright, so let's take a look at the space. This is how the area has been looking for the last, I don't know, 1.5 years or 2 years. This is the area of implementation of the new media console. This is just a workbench that I made a few years ago. So I want to get rid of this table, and as you can see, I tend to accumulate stuff around it, like these crazy Lego stuff for games and stools, a bunch of bags there are over there. So my main idea for this media console is to accommodate most of the objects there are inside this table. So I have audio equipment, guitar amp, a bass amp, a Nintendo Switch, and some other devices. And I also really want to find a room for the extension parts of the dining table. I want to use most of the vertical space. It will most probably go all the way to the floor. And I also want most things covered. I don't want to see the amps all the time. I want to have like a door or sort of a drawer where the amplifier comes out, becomes visible just during use, because I don't want to see all the stuff all the time. Another item that I really want to incorporate is a record player that is actually sitting on its cardboard box right here below. I also want to include a space for the vacuum. We can start by taking measurements and see how far do I want the media console to go. I guess that having it at 2 meters would be probably too much. So here I'm just trying to show you the behind the scenes, like how things work for me, how the thinking and imagining process takes place. All the specifications of the projects are built in my head during this period. So I typically sit and just focus, just let my thoughts run through my head. Something that I also need to consider is that when I leave this apartment, I want to take the media console with me, and I want it to make sense in other spaces. So being rectangular is what makes most sense. If I make it rectangular and I put it here, I will have a huge trapezoidal gap right against the wall, which I don't want. And it's always nice to have a little more storage. Even if it's like 10 centimeters, you can put stuff in 10 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is make the media console as a square piece of furniture and then add a little prism, like a trapezoidal prism, right here to close the gap. So let's grab all the dimensions and all the requirements and go right into the computer to create a 3D model. Let me insert all this information here so that I can check the boxes as I go during the designing process. It took me a while, but eventually I started designing and planning my projects on adequate software. I forced myself into doing 3D models for most of the projects in recent years, and it helped me a lot to visualize and make aesthetic decisions. I also tested different task list styles. I felt the need to define the time I should take for each phase of the project and almost all the steps I needed to fulfill them. That helped me to have a better idea of how long each task takes to finish, which in the long run creates acceptance for delays and reduces frustration. All these things improved my process flow and reduced part of the stress, but I felt a lack of cohesion between the lists, the visual material, and the core concepts of each project. Having to look into different places for the information and redoing task lists all over again just didn't seem that efficient. I would eventually drop it and allow the chaos to control my days from mid-project until the end. For that reason, I started using Milano Notes, where I can create boards with everything I need in one place. If you don't know anything about it, Milano Notes is a free tool for organizing your creative projects. You can compile your sketches, references, ideas, and notes with no space or time limitation. You can start with a template or an empty board and customize everything as you go. It was great using Milano to conceptualize the media console because I was able to quickly add my references all together to brainstorm and sketch out my ideas. I also added my 3D model variations to one board so that I could look at them and make decisions about the final design. Once that was done, I was able to move forward with the material calculation and ordering, identify what I needed to produce each week, and put it on to-do lists. Something that I love is that if tasks aren't completed on that day, I can move them forward and always see an updated list. It's super cool, especially because I can visualize all my project planning in one place and I can keep a better track on what I have going on and at what stage of the project I'm at the moment. Milano Notes is available for free with no time limit, so if you feel like trying it out, sign up using the link in the description and start your next creative project there. Thanks to Milano Notes for sponsoring this video. Once the appearance of the media console was defined, I started making plans about the material and hardware needed. I went with Bloom for all the drawer and door hardware and chose all the visible components to be black. Those will go well with the color and wood choices, which are mostly black MDF with some elements of Baltic birch plywood and yellow MDF. I made a call to my local wood dealer and ordered 1 sheet of birch plywood, 2 sheets of black MDF, and 1 sheet of yellow MDF. I sent them a document with the cuts I would need them to make for me so that I could put these more manageable pieces inside my car. So here's the first cut, the second cut, and so on, and this sheet would result in 4 pieces. I also labeled them to make my life easier when I start cutting the actual parts for the media console. There are a few brands that make colored MDF these days, and I was going for the forest color on both black and yellow, but yellow was out of stock, which unfortunately led me into paying more for the Valcarmet brand. Also, 3/4 of the sheet will be left over since I really just needed a small amount to make the doors and drawer fronts. For the hardware, I went with some premium options because I like good things, and I think the investment in time and effort for this piece totally justifies spending a bit more on nice hardware. Bloom ended up providing me with this material for free, but if I was going to pay for the list of components, I think it would end up being roughly 450 euros excluding taxes. The material cost for this project turned out to be around 1,400 euros without taxes. I only included the list of materials bought specifically for this project. With the materials with me, I could make the last adjustments needed to the 3D model. Making this final revision to the design helps you solving any problems to the build that wasn't contemplated before, maybe allowing you to add or change something that got lost or forgotten too. Then, it's building time. To see how I brought this media console to life from a bunch of wood pieces, tune in for my next video, which will be the last project built for the tiny apartment. If you're wondering if I put together a set of building plans for this one, I didn't, because this felt like too specific and somewhat personal to make sense for you all. But you can find plans for other furniture projects on my website, linked below. Thanks to my Patreon members for supporting my work and everyone else for watching. Now, go get your hands dirty. Até já!